Ace sent to me 5 facts about himself that maybe most people don't know. Danica especially has no idea. So he sent me 5 real facts, and I came up with 2 fake facts. So this is 2 lies and a truth. So Danica's job, she just has to determine which of these 3 is the truth, and then Ace is going to tell us which is the truth. So here we go. Try not to give anything away, Ace. Here we go. The first one. Does he always prepare a rum ham for every Thanksgiving? Did he ever perform with a guitar owned by Lindsey Buckingham? Or did he go to a college prep school where he was the only boy? Danica, which do you think is the real one?
I'm gonna go to prep school. Let's try that.
Ace?
You nailed it. That was it. I went to a college prep school, and to be fair, I was the only boy in my graduating class. It was a graduating class of about, I think, 7 or 8 people, and it was all young ladies and myself, and it was pretty enjoyable considering the contrast of public school I did 2 years earlier to that, which was terrible. It should be noted that I went to Poway High for my first 2 years, which is the high school that Blink-182 is started at.
That's awesome.
As well as Unwritten Law, who I would later go on to perform with. That's neither here nor there. And I wanted to just say, rum ham!
I mean, it could be a new tradition for Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Like, the next time it'll be true.
By the way, this was the thing I was referencing earlier where I was like, there's a thing with bullet points.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She knows.
There we go.
She knows. All right, here's the next one. Which of these is true, Danica? Did he take makeup and sewing classes? Does he have a leg sleeve of Elvira? Or was the first song he learned to play on the guitar Foxy Lady by Jimi Hendrix?
You know what? I'm actually first instinct is Elvira.
Ace?
That's a very solid guess, but no. Sadly, I have no Elvira tattoos, even though I adore Cassandra Peterson. The number 1 is the truth. And I took several makeup classes and 2 sewing classes in middle school. And I remember, well, there's some backstory here. I don't know how much time you want me to rant on about it, but because I'm good at that. The sewing class, I mean, I was like, into making and doing my own stuff. I mean, I still am. And I wanted to learn to sew. And so my mom, being a single mom with a couple jobs, looked for these summer courses to stick me in to, basically keep me sort of in school. And so I signed up for sewing and I learned to sew. I think I sewed the pants I'm wearing right now, maybe a week ago. Anyhow, and the makeup, my cousin, here's a factoid for you. My cousin is a movie director named Mark Lester, and he did Commando and Firestarter and Class of 1984 and Class of 1999, which I was on set for as a little boy during the climactic conclusion, which is basically like Blackboard Jungle meets Terminator 2. And I remember, and also growing up watching horror movies with my father, I wanted to do special effects makeup. And, I was 11. And so the prereq for movie effects makeup was basic makeup. And so I again was the only boy in this class of, I don't know, maybe 20, like 10 to 12-year-old girls learning to do eyeliner and, cover up and lipstick and all these things. And I do remember at one point, and I eventually got to the next thing where I got to do the movie effects makeup as well. And I remember my mom being like, oh my God, my son is in makeup and sewing classes. And she was like, and she made some comments. She's like, someday your husband will really appreciate like all your talents. And I remember being like, what do you like? I didn't get it, but regardless, they're talents that I appreciate having now.
Look, it paid off with the Gene Simmons look.
I mean, yeah, I did that makeup myself. Nobody helped me with any of that. And And so, yeah, I think I frightened my mom or whatever. I think she thought more of it than I did as just sort of a creative outlet. But yeah, so that's the truth to that. And on that thought, by the way, happy Pride, everybody.
Happy
So,
Pride Month.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
And so, in case anybody thought I was sort of going somewhere with that, but I remember later on being like, "Mom, were you concerned about my interests?" And she was like, "Well, I just, I was letting you do your thing." And I was like, "Right, good answer, good answer."
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
I'm still wearing frickin' eyeliner, and my toenails are painted and everything. So
nothing wrong with that.
not at all. Not the hell at
Danica,
all.
I feel like we should tell him. Like, so Danica and I also took sewing classes in middle school, and we made we made a 5-foot tall Mr. Hanky from
Wow.
South Park. Like, we sewed it, and we used to lug it around like with us. Like, why this big brown Mr. Hanky? What were you going to say, Danica?
That my sewing skills after that kind of actually kept going, and like I have been paid as an overhire stitcher for like Shakespeare companies, and like I know how to make period costuming.
Wow.
So it is a very good skill to have.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Period pieces?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's rad. That's way cooler than my like
stitch doublet
cross stitch.
And I'm still sewing Mr. Hankies. Anyway, okay. Here's the next one. Which of these is true, Danica? Here we go. Did Ace spend a month in Japan? Did he once hit the jackpot on a slot machine in Vegas? Or did he sing karaoke with Bill Moseley at a convention?
Please let it be number 3. Is it number 3?
I love Bill Moseley. I wish we sang karaoke together. No, I spent a month in Japan when I was playing with legendary New York hardcore punk rock Murphy's Law. I was with Murphy's Law very briefly when I was like 24, and we did a month tour of Japan, and that's like the equivalent of touring California for a month, because it's a very small country. And I think we had something like 26 shows in 30 days. And I have many stories about that. One of which is an episode of Adam Green's Horrified. So if anybody's bored enough and likes horror movie stuff, or Adam Green and his Holliston show or his Hatchet franchise, he's got a web series called Horrified, which I don't know if Tyler's on one. I know Derek Mears did one, but anyhow,
that's cool. Jason. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and again, going back to talking about like, how do you know these people? I talk to Derek at least every other day.
He's one of the only Jasons I haven't met. I met CJ Graham, of course, Kane Hodder.
Of course.
Is there another Jason in there?
Yeah, Frank Castle. Wait, no, that's the wrong franchise. That's Halloween.
Yeah. But I have met him.
God, who else? Him. You know what? I can't think of any other.
Nick Castle.
Nick Castle. Yes. Frank Castle's the Punisher. See, I'm a mess. Derek is probably one of the sweetest human beings you could ever meet, and I know a lot of people say that about a lot of people, but truthfully, he's one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. But Bill Moseley and I have definitely done a few conventions together, and I could definitely tell you a few stories. And I just saw him like 2 months ago here in Nashville. I went down to see to have lunch with Zach Galligan, and Moseley was there, and a couple other people we know, PJ Souls, and just from doing conventions myself, as you two know, it's like you become friends with these people. See, you watch these movies or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I love the movie and I grew up with this or whatever, but you're like, that's my friend now. Like, there's this cool thing, and carries over to music and art and everything else, comedy. Anyhow, I digress again. Spent a month in Japan. I had a wonderful time. I love the culture. That's where I learned to truly appreciate sushi. And if you've never been to Japan and you're a fan of sushi, you really don't know what it is until you go there and spend some time eating, as I did. And a lot of stories to be told from that. And if I could do it again tomorrow, I definitely would. And it's one of the few places in the world that I could openly say I would love to go back to.
I want to go for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Second's on my list.
Yeah.
It's just such a wonderful, it's just such a beautiful country, and the people are so there's so much culture, and people are very polite and kind, and I remember some of the first shows we were doing, in between songs there was no applause because it was considered rude, so they were like quiet,
Silent. Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Warrington Gillette. That was Jason. Which one was he in? I forget. Anyway, he was the first face of Jason. All right, here is the next one. We have two more. Okay. Which of these is true, Danica? Did Ace get to wave the green flag at Bristol Speedway? Did he music direct Twisted, Whoop Whoop, the live band? Or is his favorite actress Julia Roberts?
Oh, dear. Ooh. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm going to go with Bristol Speedway.
Wrong.
Womp.
It was I was the music director for Twisted's first live band.
Oh,
And,
that's cool.
Shout out to our ninjas.
What's up, everybody?
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop whoop. And yeah, that came out just like the last topic from came to fruition from a convention. I met Twisted's manager George, and he and I struck up a conversation and mentioned that the two guys in Twisted were looking to put together sort of a what was the expression he used? He wanted to sort of market it to I think it was Revolver crowd, like sort of metal. And I mentioned, having put together some bands for a few people before, which, most of the time, even this Twisted thing, I've never talked about anywhere. And so there's been a few people over the years, some successfully, some not, that have hit me up and said, hey, I'm coming out to LA and I need, a band for 5 shows. Excuse me, this soda water is attacking me. But and the convention that we were at was put on. It was a Rock and Shock in Massachusetts that was put on by one of my closest friends in the world, Gina Migliozzi, and that's literally her convention. And he was talking to her about it because she's been in the music industry for 30 years as well. And she goes, you should get Ace to put a band together. And so initially, for about, I'm going to say at least a month, on paper, I was intended to be the live guitar player until something else came up and conflicted with that. But it was, I brought in Ben Graves on drums, who's no longer with us, who's a good friend and I miss dearly. He was with the Murder Dolls and Pretty Boy Floyd and a ton of bands. Ben and gosh, who did I bring in on bass? I can't recall. And my buddy Ashes, who plays for Devil Driver, on guitar. And I don't think he stuck around very long. And then my friend Tiffany, who used to tour and travel with Alice Cooper, on keys, and she sort of wedged herself in there because she was really into Twisted, and so she called me and she said, "Hey, I heard you putting this thing together, and if you don't put me in the band, I'm gonna kick your ass." And so I said, "Whatever, you're in charge, lady. Whatever you want." And so that was and I can't remember who I put on bass initially, and they did some rehearsals, and I think like a weekend or a week's worth of dates. And then there was some rearranging, and of course now everybody's obviously Ben is deceased and whatnot, and whatever else. And I was supposed to do the tour as guitar, and then at the time, this must have been 2000, I'm gonna say 15, give or take, at least 5 years ago. And they were like, think of what you want to paint your face as, and I was like, oh man, just do I have to? Can't it just be me? And it's taken me so long to get comfortable in this skin. Why do I have to start over? And so that was that. And it was interesting. And, I didn't really interact too much with the two guys from Twisted, who I can't remember their names. I apologize. It was mostly me interacting or corresponding with George, and sent the band off, went down to a rehearsal to kind of, music director or whatever. And that was that. And so it was, just one of those things that I did in between tours and whatever else. And I've completely forgotten about somehow Kid Cadet Night came up. Maybe we were talking about Fago. And
Yes.
juggling.
So we were somehow talking about Gathering of the Juggalos, Chris Hansen being, he's going to clown up.
Yeah.
I don't remember how we got into conversations about Juggalos, but it happens. You know what I mean? It happens.
Yeah.
Jamie Madrox and Monoxide Child.
Yes.
As you do.
I think Jamie was the one I knew.
All right. Are we ready for the final one?
Sure.
This is it, guys. The last and final one. That's right. Danica, it's okay. It's okay. This is not. Okay. Today's audition for the touring company of Rock of Ages. Did he adopt a rescue pig named Mr. Hammy? Or does he have his voice featured in several Netflix shows and films?
I think for this one, I'm going to go with 3 because of my understanding of your vast voice acting career.
Ace.
Nailed it. Yeah, that's it. Number 3. Although I really do I would love to have a pet pig named Mr. Hammy, and if I ever do, I will name him such. Yeah, I think I've got 4 Netflix things. A horror series called Marianne, where I voiced the lead character's boyfriend for I think 2 episodes, and it was a dubbing job, so it's a foreign series and they dub it into English. And then the last thing that I booked that was Netflix was The Woods, which was a series, and I think I'm in nearly every episode, and I play Wojtek, the creepy camp counselor, possible suspect. And I did a bunch of background voices for Money Heist season 3 or 4. And I think that's it for as far as Netflix exclusively goes. And a lot of this, again, ties into the horror community and convention life, because the guy who booked me for most of those, not all of them, Joe Lynch, is what did he do? Wrong Turn 2, and he's going to whoop me for forgetting his resume, but he's done a ton of stuff and become quite a good friend. But Joe and I met through Adam Green, and who I mentioned earlier with the Hatchet franchise and Horrified and everything. And they would do every December, they do a dog rescue 48-hour podcast marathon that I've guested on a few times. And so that's, I think, initially how Joe and I met a few years ago. But he, ironically, a girlfriend of mine was the assistant. She started as she was just a friend that was a waitress at the Rainbow in LA. And then she became an assistant to a voiceover casting agent, trying to get my details right here. And she was like, hey, I know you do voiceover occasionally. We're doing this thing. You want to come audition? And I went down there and I booked whatever the job was. And then they had me, 6 months later, come down and audition for something else. And I walked in the room and Joe Lynch it's like my buddy. And he was like, oh, cancel everyone else for the day. He's hired. And I was like, I haven't even read for the part yet. He said, doesn't matter. You're hired. So like a lot of things in the entertainment industry, there's some nepotism involved. And admittedly, I was happy to have that. And so he stuck me in the booth and he goes, read for this character. And I read for it. And he, I was like, yeah, there you go. You're now whatever it was. And he's since called me for a few things, some of which I've done and some of which booked and some of which I haven't. But, it's always nice to get your foot in the door and stuff like that. But anyhow, ranting as I tend to do, yes, so you can hear my voice in several Netflix television shows, series, and films.
Awesome.